Your entire life, every circumstance, every relationship, every dollar in your account, every opportunity that showed up and every one that didn't, all of it is a printout. A printout of a document you didn't write. A blueprint you never consciously designed. A set of instructions that was assembled inside your mind before you were old enough to question it. And that has been running every outcome in your life ever since. That blueprint is your self-image, and it is the single most powerful force operating in your reality right now. More powerful than your goals, more powerful than your habits, more powerful than your discipline, your strategy, your talent, or your effort. Because all of those things operate within the boundaries set by the self-image. None of them can exceed it. You can set any goal you want. If your self-image says, I am someone who earns $40,000 a year, you will earn $40,000 a year. You can work 80-hour weeks. You can learn every strategy. You can hustle until your body breaks. You will earn $40,000 a year, not because the system is rigged, because the blueprint is set. And reality does not exceed the blueprint, it matches it with terrifying precision. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact architecture of the self-image, how it was built, why it controls everything, and the 6-phase process for reconstructing it so completely that your reality has no choice but to reorganize. Phase 5 is the phase that most people will refuse to complete. Not because it's difficult, because it requires burning the bridge back to the old identity, permanently. And most people, when they reach that bridge, discover they're not as ready for change as they thought. 6 phases. Let's begin with how the current blueprint was installed. Before you can build a new self-image, you need to see the one that's currently running. And this is harder than it sounds, because the current self-image is not visible to the conscious mind. It lives beneath awareness, in the body, in the automatic reactions, in the patterns you've stopped questioning because they've been there so long they feel like just the way things are. Phase 1 is an excavation. You are digging up the blueprint that was buried in your subconscious decades ago. The one that determines the upper and lower boundaries of what you experience in every area of your life. The self-image was not built from what you were told. It was built from what you experienced, not from lectures about who you should be, but from the daily, repeated, felt experiences of childhood that encoded who you are. A child doesn't learn their self-image from instruction. They learn it from reflection, from the way the world mirrors them back to themselves over and over, until the reflection becomes identity. If you were consistently praised for achievement, but ignored when you were struggling, your self-image encoded, I am valuable when I perform. I am invisible when I'm not. If you were the peacekeeper in a chaotic household, your self-image encoded, I am the person who holds everything together. My value comes from managing other people's emotions. If your needs were consistently deprioritized, your self-image encoded, my needs are secondary. I am fundamentally less important than the people around me. If you were told you were smart but punished for being assertive, your self-image encoded, I am allowed to think but not to act on what I think. Intelligence without power. If you were loved conditionally, praised when compliant, withdrawn from when defiant, your self-image encoded, I am lovable only when I am what others need me to be. These are not memories. These are operating instructions. They are the blueprint's code, and they are running right now, in this moment, dictating what you pursue, what you avoid, how much you charge for your work, who you enter relationships with, what you believe you deserve, and how much reality you allow yourself to have. Here's the excavation. Take 5 areas of your life: money, relationships, career, health, and self-expression. For each one, complete this sentence. I am the kind of person who, and let the honest answer surface. Not the aspirational answer, the true one, the pattern, the way it's actually been. I am the kind of person who earns a decent living, but never breaks through to real wealth. I am the kind of person who attracts love, but always from people who are slightly unavailable. I am the kind of person who starts creative projects, but never finishes them. I am the kind of person who takes care of everyone else, but neglects myself. Those sentences are not descriptions of bad luck or character flaws. They are readouts from the blueprint. They are the self-image speaking. And until you can see those sentences clearly, until you can hold them up and look at them without flinching, you cannot change them. Because you cannot rewrite code you refuse to read. Phase 1 is the read. Phase 2 is understanding who wrote it. Phase 2 asks a question that most people have never considered, and once you consider it, you can't go back to living as though you didn't. Who authored your self-image? Because it wasn't you. Your self-image was built collaboratively by a team of architects you never hired, working from a design you never approved. And every one of them was operating from their own limitations, their own fears, and their own unresolved blueprints. Your parents were the primary architects, not through their words but through their energy, their reactions, their emotional availability or unavailability. What they celebrated in you became what you believed was valuable. What they ignored in you became what you believed was irrelevant. What they punished in you became what you believed was dangerous. They didn't mean to install a blueprint. They were building you the only way they knew how, from the same blueprint that was installed in them. Your peers were the second team. In school, on the playground, in the social hierarchies of childhood, if you were popular, your blueprint encoded, I am someone the world wants. If you were excluded, your blueprint encoded, I am someone the world rejects. If you were bullied, your blueprint encoded, I am someone who must hide or be destroyed. These encodings didn't happen through logic, they happened through repetition. One experience of rejection is a bad day, 100 of them is an identity. Your culture was the third team. Your economic environment, your media landscape, the implicit messages about what people like you are allowed to become. People from this neighborhood don't become that. Women don't do that. Men don't feel that. Your kind isn't welcome there. Cultural programming is the most invisible layer of the blueprint because it masquerades as reality itself. It doesn't feel like a belief. It feels like a fact. Here's the realization that changes everything. You are living inside a blueprint designed by amateurs. Loving amateurs, in many cases. Well-meaning amateurs. But amateurs nonetheless. People who were doing their best with their own broken blueprints. People who never sat down and deliberately designed the self-image they were installing in you. It happened by accident, by repetition, by osmosis. And you have been obeying that accidental blueprint as though it were law, treating the boundaries it set as the boundaries of reality itself, never questioning whether the ceiling above your life is a real ceiling or just a line drawn by someone who didn't know any better. Phase 2 is the recognition. I did not design this. I did not choose this. And I am no longer obligated to live within its boundaries. The architects are gone. The project was never approved. And I am now the only person authorized to hold the blueprint. That recognition doesn't change the self-image yet. But it does something essential. It breaks the authority of the old one. Because a blueprint you believe is yours is a blueprint you defend. A blueprint you recognize was installed by others, is a blueprint you can question. And questioning is the first fracture in the wall. Phase 3 is where this process gets uncomfortable, because Phase 3 reveals something your conscious mind has been working very hard to keep hidden. You don't know what your self-image actually is. You know what you think it is. And those are two completely different things. Here's how this works. If I asked you right now, what do you believe about yourself? You would give me the conscious answer. I believe I'm smart. I believe I'm worthy of love. I believe I can be successful. I believe I deserve abundance. And you might genuinely believe you believe those things. Your conscious mind endorses them fully. But your life isn't being produced by the conscious answer. Your life is being produced by the operational self-image, the one running beneath the conscious narrative. And the operational self-image is visible not in what you say you believe, but in what you produce, in what you tolerate, in what you repeatedly experience, in the patterns that keep showing up no matter how many times you try to change them. Your results are the mirror, not your affirmations, not your journal entries, not your intentions. Your actual, lived, tangible results are the only honest reflection of the self-image that's actually operating. If you say you believe you're worthy of deep love, but every relationship you enter is with someone emotionally unavailable, the operational self-image is, I am someone who doesn't fully receive love. If you say you believe you deserve wealth, but you've been earning the same income range for 5 years despite every effort to change it, the operational self-image is, I am someone who earns this much, not more, this much. If you say you believe in your own talent, but you never finish or share your creative work, the operational self-image is, I am someone whose creations are not safe to show the world. If you say you believe in your own worth, but you consistently undercharge, over-deliver, and exhaust yourself to prove your value, the operational self-image is, I am someone whose value must be earned through sacrifice. The gap between the believed self-image and the operational self-image is where your life is leaking. That gap is the reason your affirmations don't work, the reason your goals keep falling short, the reason the same patterns repeat. You're setting goals from the believed self-image, while the operational self-image quietly produces the reality it's programmed to produce. Here's how to see the operational self-image clearly. Don't look at what you believe. Look at what you've built. Survey the actual landscape of your life. Not the version you present, the version that exists. Your bank account, your relationships, your health, your creative output, your living environment, your daily emotional baseline. Look at all of it. Now ask, if I were a stranger looking at this life from the outside, with no access to the person's thoughts or intentions, what would I conclude this person believes about themselves? That conclusion, the one a stranger would draw, is the operational self-image. It's the blueprint that's actually been running, not the one you wish were running, not the one you've been telling yourself is running, the real one, the one that produced exactly the life you're currently living. This is the hardest phase, because seeing the operational self-image means admitting that the life you have is the life your deepest programming ordered. Not bad luck, not the economy, not timing. Your self-image placed the order. Reality fulfilled it. But here's why it's also the most liberating phase. If your self-image placed the order, then your self-image can place a different one. The same mechanism that built this reality can build a different reality. The same power that constrained you is the power that will free you. It just needs new instructions. Writing those instructions is phase 4. Phase 4 is where you stop being an archaeologist and start being an architect. You've excavated the old blueprint. You've identified who installed it. You've seen the operational self-image in the mirror of your results. Now you design the replacement. Phase 4. Write the new self-image with the same precision an architect uses to design a building, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're designing the structure that reality will construct. And this is where most people fail. Not from lack of desire, but from lack of specificity. They write vague aspirations. I am confident. I am abundant. I am worthy. These are not blueprints. These are bumper stickers. And reality doesn't build from bumper stickers. It builds from detailed specifications. Here's how to design a self-image with the specificity that reality requires. Start with the 5 areas from Phase 1: money, relationships, career, health, and self-expression. For each area, you wrote the operational self-image, the "I am the kind of person who" sentence that describes the pattern. Now you're going to write the replacement, but not as a wish, as a specification. Don't write, "I am wealthy." That's a destination without a blueprint. Write, "I am someone who generates income through multiple streams, invests 20% of everything earned, charges a premium for my expertise without guilt, and views money as a tool I wield with precision and ease." That is a specification. That is a self-image with operational instructions the subconscious can execute. Don't write, "I am loved." Write, "I am someone who enters relationships as a whole person, who communicates needs directly without fear of abandonment, who receives love without deflection, and who walks away from dynamics that require me to shrink." That is a blueprint. The subconscious can build from that. It cannot build from "I am loved." Don't write, "I am confident." Write, "I am someone who speaks in rooms without waiting for permission, who takes action before certainty arrives, who handles rejection as data rather than identity, and whose sense of self does not fluctuate based on the approval of others." That is architectural. The subconscious reads it as instruction. The rule of the blueprint is this: if a stranger read your specification, they should be able to recognize you in a room, not from what you look like, from how you behave, how you carry yourself, how you respond to pressure, how you make decisions. The self-image must be observable in action, not just felt internally, because observable means operational. And operational is what reality builds from. There's a critical distinction between a self-image blueprint and a goal list. Goals describe outcomes. Blueprints describe identity. I want to earn $200,000 as a goal. I am someone who consistently generates $200,000 through the quality and visibility of my value is a self-image. The goal focuses on the result. The self-image focuses on the person who produces the result. This distinction matters because reality doesn't deliver results to unmatched identities. You can chase a goal all year. But if your self-image doesn't match the person who naturally produces that result, you'll either fall short or reach it and immediately self-sabotage back to the blueprint set point. The goal gets achieved and then lost because the identity didn't change. The person who achieved it is still running the old code. Design the person. The results follow. That's the order. It has never worked the other way. Phase 5 is the phase most people will not complete. I said that in the beginning and I meant it, because Phase 5 requires something that the human psyche resists at the deepest level. Phase 5. Kill the old self-image. Not gradually, not partially, completely. Sever the identification with the person you have been. Let that version of you die, fully and without a safety net. Here's why this is non-negotiable. Your subconscious cannot run 2 blueprints simultaneously. It's like trying to build 2 different buildings on the same foundation at the same time. The materials contradict. The structures collide. The result is neither building, it's rubble. Most people attempt identity change by addition. They keep the old self-image intact and try to layer the new one on top. They want to be the new person while keeping the option of retreating to the old one if things get uncomfortable. They want transformation with a safety net. And the subconscious, reading two sets of instructions, defaults to the older, more deeply encoded one every time. You cannot become who you're building while remaining who you've been. The bridge back must burn, not because the old you was bad, because the old you is complete. Their story is finished, their chapter is written, and holding on to a finished chapter prevents the next one from beginning. The burn is not dramatic. It's not quitting your job, moving across the country, or cutting off everyone you know. The burn is internal. It's the moment you stop identifying with the old patterns. The moment you stop saying, "That's just who I am," about behaviors that belong to the old blueprint. The moment you stop defending, explaining, or returning to the person you were programmed to be. It sounds like, "That used to be me. It's not anymore," said quietly, without drama, without apology, and then living in accordance with the new blueprint even when every cell in your body is screaming to go back to the familiar. The scream is real. The discomfort is real. When you stop running the old self-image, your nervous system panics. It reads the change as death, because to the nervous system, identity is survival. Changing identity triggers the same alarm systems as physical threat. Your heart races, your anxiety spikes. A voice inside you says, "Go back. This isn't safe. You don't know who you are anymore." That voice is not your intuition. It is the old blueprint fighting for survival, and the only way through it is through it, not around it, not by negotiating with it, through it, by continuing to live from the new blueprint while the old one thrashes and protests and eventually goes quiet. Because a blueprint that isn't being fed with identification, repetition, and obedience loses power. It doesn't die instantly, it starves, and the starvation period is the most uncomfortable phase of the entire process. This is why most people quit. The starvation period feels like free fall, like losing yourself, like becoming nobody before becoming somebody new. And most people cannot tolerate the gap. They reach for the old identity like a drowning person reaches for a ledge. But the people who stay in the gap, who let the old identity starve completely before the new one solidifies, those are the people whose reality restructures. Because the subconscious, finding only one set of instructions, begins building from the new blueprint with the same precision and obedience it gave the old one. It doesn't argue. It doesn't evaluate. It builds. Whatever blueprint remains standing is the one reality constructs. Let the old one die. Let the new one be the last one standing. That's phase 5. And phase 6 is what happens when reality receives the new instructions. If you've completed phases 1 through 5, if you've excavated the old blueprint, identified who installed it, seen the operational self-image in the mirror, designed the new blueprint with precision, and let the old identity die, phase 6 begins on its own. You don't initiate it, reality does. Phase 6 is the materialization, the point at which reality receives the new blueprint and begins constructing accordingly. And it happens in a specific, recognizable sequence. First, your behavior changes without effort. You stop forcing yourself to do the things the new identity requires. They become natural. You notice yourself making decisions you wouldn't have made 6 months ago. And the decisions don't feel brave. They feel obvious. The new self-image has become the default. And defaults produce behavior automatically. Second, people respond to you differently. Not because you told them you've changed, because they can feel it. The signal you broadcast has shifted. Your posture, your eye contact, your vocal tone, the way you hold space, the way you respond to pressure. All of it has been reorganized by the new blueprint, and people's nervous systems read other nervous systems constantly. They don't know what's changed. They just know you feel different, and they respond accordingly. Third, circumstances begin reorganizing. Opportunities appear that match the new identity, not the old one. Relationships that match the old blueprint start feeling strained, while new connections that match the new blueprint begin arriving. Financial situations shift. Creative output changes in quality and volume. The external world begins reflecting the new internal architecture. This is not magic. This is mechanics. Your self-image is the command. Your subconscious is the executor. Your behavior is the signal. And reality is the responder. When the command changes, everything downstream changes, not instantly, but inevitably. With the same precision and obedience that built the old reality, the new one assembles. People want to know how long this takes. The honest answer is, it depends on how completely you executed Phase 5. If the old identity is fully dead, fully starved of identification, the materialization can begin within weeks. Shifts in behavior come first. Shifts in other people's responses come next. Shifts in circumstances follow. The full reorganization of a life typically takes 3 to 12 months. But there's a nuance most people miss. The materialization doesn't feel like arrival. It feels like recognition. It feels like the new reality was always supposed to be this way. Like you're not becoming someone new, but returning to someone you always were. Because the new self-image, if it was designed from genuine calling rather than ego aspiration, doesn't feel foreign. It feels like home. Like the first identity that actually fits. And that feeling, the feeling of your life finally matching who you actually are, is not a reward for completing the process. It's the process itself. It's what happens when the blueprint and the building are the same thing for the first time. Let me give you the complete architecture. Phase 1, the archaeology. Excavate the current blueprint. See the self-image that's actually running your life by completing I am the kind of person who, for every major area. Read the code before you try to rewrite it. Phase 2, the authorship. Recognize that the blueprint was installed by others, parents, peers, culture, operating from their own limitations. Break its authority by seeing that it was never yours. Phase 3, the mirror. Identify the gap between the believed self-image and the operational one. Your results are the mirror, not your affirmations. Ask what a stranger would conclude about your self-image by looking at your life. Phase 4, the blueprint. Design the new self-image with architectural specificity. Not bumper stickers, specifications, observable, behavioral, operational instructions the subconscious can build from. Phase 5, the burn. Kill the old identity. Stop running 2 blueprints. Let the old one starve by refusing to identify with it, obey it, or return to it. Survive the starvation period. Let the new blueprint be the last one standing. Phase 6, the materialization. Behavior changes first, then people's responses, then circumstances. Reality constructs from whatever blueprint remains. Give it one, it will build. Your self-image is not a thought. It's not a feeling. It's not a belief. It's an architectural document, a set of instructions that your subconscious reads, your behavior obeys, and your reality constructs. Every day, without exception, without negotiation. Until today, that document was written by other people, installed by accident, obeyed without question, and it has produced the exact life its instructions specified. Not a life of bad luck, not a life of unfairness. A life of precise, obedient construction from a blueprint you didn't write. Now you're the architect. The document is in your hands, and for the first time in your life, you have the authority to write the instructions yourself. Not from someone else's fears, not from childhood reflections, not from cultural programming. From your own vision of who you are and what your life is supposed to contain. Write it with precision, install it with conviction, burn the old one completely, and then watch. Because reality has been waiting, patiently, obediently, for someone to hand it a new set of plans. It doesn't care whose plans they are, it just builds. Subscribe if you're done living from someone else's blueprint.